Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
There it is. Okay. All right. So we're watching Fox 5 right now. They are live on scene outside
I still don't have
the
IFB.
CIA. Currently, there is a barricaded subject outside. It's been going on now for a couple hours. So we're just trying to see what the conclusion of this is going to be. We're not sure if this is somehow or another related, possibly to, maybe the documents being released yesterday for JFK. So we're not sure, but we're certainly trying to see what it is that's going on here.
Yeah, Guy, not necessarily since the last update. I'm just checking my phone to see if Fairfax County has put anything else out. The answer to that is no right now. So the latest information from them is what we've been sort of telling you about for the last couple of hours, that there's a response to some barricade situation at the CIA headquarters. It is very clear that it is still active and ongoing and has not been resolved. But, you can guess that work is being done to that end to try and bring this to a peaceful resolution, but it has not happened yet. So this sort of holding pattern from our vantage point certainly continues. Right? Photographer Nelson Jones is just giving you another look here on Dolly Madison Boulevard at just what we can see from our vantage point. Certainly looks like we're seeing, several police vehicles, SUVs that do remain here. The primary kind of location that they've been staging is right outside sort of the main entrance on Dolly Madison Boulevard. A little bit ago, we could kind of see some staging of a bunch of men, people, officers wearing protective gear. Looks like we can see a few of them still, but it's just sort of unclear exactly kind of what the nature is of what's going on exactly right now. So, from the barricade perspective, we're certainly waiting for something from the CIA, hoping that we get some information and some insights from them sooner rather than later. But certainly, it's just fair to say that work continues to bring whatever the situation is.
Seen any of that. We did have an aerial view
peaceful
earlier.
Resolution. As for the just traffic perspective, we're just giving you a look here. Seville, Dolly Madison Boulevard, between Seville and the Georgetown Pike, does remain closed. That is obviously the location of the main entrance to the CIA campus. At this time, we've been kind of telling you over the last kind of hour of news that there's been a drone up in the air. We do not see one from our vantage point right now. Certainly not going to make any inferences about what's going on and where things stand based on that drone and based on just what we see now, other than, this is a large presence, this is an active presence, and our best assumption that we can make is that the last statement from Fairfax County Police that there's a barricade situation here at the CIA headquarters is what remains and is what stands, this barricade situation being active and ongoing at this time. Guy. Yeah, Guy, certainly does. And, this is just something happening right now. So we want to show you right now. This is a truck with police lights on it that is arriving. Lights and sirens are on. And right now appears as though they're going to let them through. So kind of while we're here, we might as well just take a look and see what this person is doing. As it looked like they might negotiate their way through there, but it looks like right now they might just be responding, talking to some of the Fairfax officers, and based on all we know, could not be related to this. Certainly not sure exactly right now, but even this alone just kind of speaks to the sense of what's going on here. Any development that we can find, as we are obviously now seeing this car go through. So I can also tell you, since we've been here, the drone is back up in the air, and you can see that that car just drove through the tape and is making its way. So, what will this vehicle do? Will it, post up behind some of the cars that are already there? Will somebody get out? It's entirely might be too difficult to tell exactly where this truck is going or its significance and import to whatever is going on right now. I've just kind of come up to the right so I can keep my eye on it. And for the time being, it looks like.
So right now, we're continuing to watch this unfolding here at the CIA headquarters. There is a multitude of law enforcement agencies on the ground. There are local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies on the ground right now. Earlier, I did see video of the bomb robot. They also have a couple different armored vehicles. There's about 3 different SWAT teams that are on scene. And they're all surrounded an individual that's sitting on a bench right outside the CIA headquarters. So we're going to continue to monitor this live stream coming out of Fox 5, Washington, D.C. We'll continue to monitor here. Please let us know your thoughts here in the chat as we are currently monitoring that as well.
Wouldn't want to speculate on that for the time being, Guy. So we're just going to kind of go with the fact that Fairfax County is calling this a barricade situation at this time. So certainly what I would say is the fact that this sort of staging is happening here would lead you to believe that there is some containment about what's going on. We're not necessarily seeing, a flurry of cars racing up and down. The drone, for the most part, has stayed sort of in the same location. So it's tough to sort of know exactly what that could mean. But, to answer your question, all we know is a report of a barricade situation at this time. And certainly, as we just saw, additional assets are still coming. But as we've kind of talked about, it does feel like a little bit stagnant right now, that not a ton is happening and not a ton of developments as they continue to work through this with everyone's safety in mind. Guy.
He's currently talking to his news team.
The understanding that I got, Guy, is that this is CIA police's investigation and that those other agencies are assisting. That's how it was sort of described to me. So, we asked Fairfax County, for instance, of just more information about what exactly was going on, and they deferred us to the CIA. So typically, that's an indication that this is sort of a CIA investigation, and these other entities that might be here are responding in an assistance role just to provide additional manpower here to the scene to help the main investigators out. Nothing that we've heard to that extent, Guy. Indications to me were that we might get some sort of statement with an update, but that is not something that we are necessarily privy to. It's tough to say, again, if it's a CIA investigation, if we might, we hear more frankly, from a local news perspective, we hear more from local police when situations happen, but that's because it's their jurisdiction. This being CIA jurisdiction, it's tough to say definitively whether or not we might get some sort of on-camera briefing or an update may come via a statement, but certainly no word on when we can expect to learn more information, and certainly we're hoping to find out more about where things stand right now.
Okay, so as we continue to watch, we're hoping that we're gonna get some more information coming out of here. I am going to be
Yeah, Guy,
scanning,
definitely those two things go hand in hand, and I think that's why Fairfax
other
County Police
news
sort of put
sources
this
real
out.
quick
You know,
here.
it's the CIA is obviously the headquarters are sort of a federal entity, but this road, Dolly Madison Boulevard, a Fairfax County road, a Virginia road. So, you know, in terms of being transparent and trying to put information out, they have made it clear intrinsically that the barricade situation is taking precedent over the sort of road being open. So safe bet that for the time being, this road remains closed until this situation is resolved. Guy.
Okay, the White House press secretary is supposed to be making a briefing here.
Guy, nothing that we have seen in
for
terms
that
of
to
in and
pop
out
up,
from
and as soon as
the
that does, we're gonna take and we're gonna
area
switch to
behind
that,
us. The entrance
well.
and exit for the CIA that is on sort of the backside off of GW Parkway. It did appear about 90 minutes ago that people were able to come and go. We have not been able to lay eyes on that entrance and exit lately, and candidly, I don't know enough about the CIA campus to know if someone can go in or out over there, but certainly, obviously, this is a heavily fortified area, one that already has an incredibly large police presence at all times, given how prominent of a location it is and how important it is, frankly, to American national security. So, Lord knows it's already an incredibly safely guarded area. So when anything, you know, that is an introduction of something that they're not used to comes into this, there's certainly a massive response to it to resolve that situation. Obviously, peacefully is the goal, but as long as this does remain an active situation, we can certainly expect there to be these sort of constraints on people's ability to move, at least in the public, at least in front of CIA headquarters here on Dolly Madison Boulevard.
All right, looks like they have turned off their microphone for right now. We're still currently monitoring the White House at this moment. We're waiting on Caroline to come out and brief us on what the White House knows on this incident happening in front of the CIA headquarters. Again, there is an active investigation going on with a barricaded subject just outside the gates of CIA. This comes right on the release of the JFK files yesterday. We're not sure if this is related to anything to do with that, but the timing certainly is a little bit of suspicion there. There are multiple SWAT teams that are on site, as well as bomb squad, EMS personnel, state, local, and federal law enforcement are on scene as well. So we're continuing to monitor this. This is not one of our normal podcasts for today, but we're going to continue to monitor this and see this through. As soon as the press secretary is ready to come on board, we're going to switch screens into that. I'll see if I am able to actually do that right this second. Oh, wait a minute. Here she comes. All right.
Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams are back on Earth. These two incredible astronauts were only supposed to be up there for 8 days, but because of the Biden administration's lack of urgency, they ended up spending 9 months in space. Joe Biden's lack of courage to act boldly and decisively was a big reason why Butch and Sonny did not make it back until yesterday. But President Trump doesn't waste time. Immediately after taking office, President Trump directed Elon Musk and SpaceX to rescue these brave astronauts alongside NASA. The president also called the acting administrator of NASA and told her to bring the astronauts home as soon as possible. As acting administrator Janet Petro said herself yesterday, per President Trump's direction, NASA and SpaceX worked diligently to pull the schedule a month earlier. The president looks forward to welcoming Butch and Sunny to the Oval Office when they are recovered. This historic mission brings new meaning to President Trump's promise to always look out for the forgotten man and woman. On another important matter, yesterday, President Trump and President Putin spoke about the need for peace and a ceasefire in the Ukraine war. Both leaders agreed this conflict needs to end with a lasting peace and also stressed the need for improved bilateral relations between the United States and Russia. President Trump also spoke with President Zelensky this morning to align both Russia and Ukraine in terms of their needs and requests. As President Trump has said repeatedly, the precious lives and money that both Ukraine and Russia have been spending in this war would be better spent on the needs of their people. This terrible conflict would have never started with President Trump in charge, but he's determined to end it once and for all. President Trump also promised maximum transparency and a commitment to rebuild the trust of the American people in our intelligence community. Part of that promise was to fully release previously classified records related to the assassination of former President John F. Kennedy, and he made that happen yesterday. This historic release consisted of approximately 80,000 pages of previously classified records that are now published. The records are available to access either online at archives.gov/JFK or in person, accessible to the American people at the National Archives in College Park, Maryland. Records that are currently only available for in-person viewing are being digitized and will be uploaded in the coming days. On another note, positive economic data continues to pour in, showing the immediate impact of President Trump's pro-growth agenda. After suffering a steep decline in the final year of the Biden administration, the manufacturing sector came roaring back in February. Industrial production surged in February, these are new numbers, at a greater 3 times rate than the expectations to its highest ever recorded level. And President Trump's laser focus on massive deregulation and unleashing our domestic energy industry is leading to stabilities for Americans' bottom lines. As Newsweek summed it up today, gas prices are plummeting under President Trump. And the Trump administration continues to make American communities safer through our ongoing mass deportation campaign of illegal alien criminals. Yesterday, FBI Director Kash Patel announced the agency captured another fugitive from its 10 most wanted list, securing the extradition of Francisco Javier Roman Bardeles, a key senior leader of the brutal MS-13 gang. And the brave men and women of ICE also arrested a number of dangerous aliens across the country in recent days. You will see them on this screen. ICE San Francisco just arrested a citizen of Guatemala convicted of sexual battery. ICE New Orleans arrested a citizen of Ecuador convicted of rape in Suffolk County, New York. ICE Atlanta arrested a citizen of Mexico convicted of assault by strangulation. ICE Dallas arrested a citizen of Mexico convicted of assault with a firearm and rape with a foreign object. And ICE Houston arrested a citizen of Guatemala convicted of indecent sexual contact with a child in Texas. These are heinous criminal alien monsters who the previous administration allowed to flood into our country. And every time President Trump and this team deport one of them, our country becomes safer. Finally, before I open it up to questions, I want to tout how successful our efforts have been in filling out President Trump's administration. There have been a record number of 281 Senate confirmed nominations already, with another 280 in process. Here at the White House, OPM, and GSA, we have filled 100% of the total number of slots. And this is a record number of placements in the first 58 days of any administration, and a testament to the caliber and the sheer quantity of talented people who want to work for President Trump to make America great again. Here in our new media seat today, we have Katie Pavlich. Katie is the editor of townhall.com, which is a subsidiary of Town Hall Media. It's a leading conservative news and opinion outlet based right here in Washington, D.C., with writers and journalists reporting around the country. Last year, Town Hall Media had 60 million unique users and 1.4 billion page views, with a broad reach on a number of social media platforms. With that, Katie, please kick us off.
Thank you, Caroline. Really appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you. So given the back and forth with this U.S. District Judge and the administration's use of the Alien Enemies Act, does the President plan to send new and additional flights of Venezuelan gang members, now designated as foreign terrorists, from the U.S. to El Salvador or elsewhere? Can Americans expect to see those flights sometime soon?
Americans can absolutely expect to see the continuation of the mass deportation campaign that has been successfully led by this President, Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, and also our Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. Since you brought up the judges, I would like to point out that the judges in this country are acting erroneously. We have judges who are acting as partisan activists from the bench. They are trying to dictate policy from the President of the United States. They are trying to clearly slow walk this administration's agenda, and it's unacceptable. As the President said last night, we will continue to comply with these court orders. We will continue to fight these battles in courts, but it's incredibly apparent that there is a concerted effort by the far left to judge shop, to pick judges who are clearly acting as partisan activists from the bench in an attempt to derail this President's agenda. We will not allow that to happen. And not only are they usurping the will of the President and the Chief Executive of our country, but they are undermining the will of the American public, tens of millions of Americans who duly elected this President to implement the policies that are coming out of this White House.
And then one more question. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said yesterday that he was united with Democrats in working against Americans who, quote, their attitude is, I made my money all by myself, how dare your government take my money from me? Or, I built my company with my bare hands, how dare your government tell me how to treat my customers? What is the President's response to this given his upcoming tax agenda and need to work on Capitol Hill?
Well, we certainly hope that Democrats all of a sudden are for more money in the pockets of the American public. The President has made it incredibly
At Grainger, we have over 1 million products, including the ones that help keep your workplace safe and sound. Shop our vast inventory of safety products.
Support foreign terrorists from our American soil. That is an egregious abuse of the bench. This judge does not have that authority. It is the opinion of this White House and of this administration, and that's why we're fighting this.
Sorry about that.
And it's very, very clear that this is an activist judge who is trying to usurp the President's authority. Under the Alien Enemies Act, the President has this power, and that's why this deportation campaign has continued. And this judge, Judge Boasberg, is a Democrat activist. He was appointed by Barack Obama. His wife has donated more than $10,000 to Democrats, and he has consistently shown his disdain for this president and his policies, and it's unacceptable.
Hey,
I wanted to go about the
money.
idea that these people are all foreign terrorists, but Judge Boasberg was originally appointed by George W. Bush and then elevated by Barack Obama. I just feel like I should clear that up.
Well, let me just say something to that effect, Garrett. 67% of all of the injunctions in this century have come against which president? Donald J. Trump. Let me say that again. 60% of the injunctions by partisan activists in the judicial branch have come against President Donald Trump, and 92% of those have been from Democrat-appointed judges. This is a clear, concerted effort by leftists who don't like this president and are trying to impose or slow down his agenda.
So, given that, do you think it's a good use of Congress's time and the president's political capital to try to impeach and remove a federal judge, which would take 67 votes you're unlikely to get in the Senate?
Well, look, the president has made it clear that he believes this judge in this case should be impeached, and he has also made it clear that he has great respect for the Chief Justice John Roberts, and it's incumbent upon the Supreme Court to rein in these activist judges. These partisan activists are undermining the judicial branch by doing so. We have co-equal branches of government for a reason, and the president feels very strongly about that. Jackie.
Thanks, Caroline. What options does the president have to he says he's going to follow court orders. He wouldn't defy a court order, but he's raised these concerns about these judges acting in such a partisan way. What option does he have to ensure that his agenda continues to move forward while this is ongoing and the judges appear to be trying to just block and delay and impede?
Well, you're right. They are trying to block, delay, and impede. This is lawfare. The president is no stranger to it. He faced it in his campaign, and this is a continuation of the lawfare that President Trump faced as a candidate, and he's now unfortunately facing as a president. Clearly, these partisan activists in the judicial branch didn't get the memo on November 5th when the American people overwhelmingly re-elected this president to continue with mass deportations. So White House counsel and the Department of Justice are working on this. They're appealing these cases, and we will continue to use the full weight of the White House counsel's office and the president's team of lawyers to fight this in court, because we know we will win, even if we have to go all the way to the Supreme Court.
One more on TDA. Andy McCarthy said in an interview with Hugh Hewitt, he certainly agrees with what the president is trying to do with the Alien Enemies Act, but he's not sure that the law is completely on his side. He cites some previous Supreme Court rulings dealing with enemy combatants in wartime, says that even they have a challenge or a right to challenge their detention in court. He raised concern also that while TDA has been designated as a terrorist organization, these individuals hadn't been prosecuted for terrorism. So my question is, will the president ask Congress potentially to declare war on these cartels for the invasion that he's talked about so that he's on stronger legal footing?
Well, we absolutely disagree with the legal opinion of the individual that you mentioned. We would not have moved forward with this if we didn't believe the president. This was within the president's executive authority to continue with this mass deportation effort under the authority provided to him under the Alien Enemies Act. And when you read the act, as I did last time at the podium, a predatory incursion is absolutely what has happened with Tren de Aragua. They have been sent here by the hostile Maduro regime in Venezuela, and the president, immediately upon taking office, designated TDA as a foreign terrorist organization. And under this act, it is within the president's authority to deport these terrorists. And anybody trying to defend these terrorists who have now been sent off of American soil should talk to the families of the individuals who these heinous monsters have killed and have raped. If you talk to those families, they are so heartened by the president's decision to take tough action and to use his executive authority, something that no other president has been willing to do, because President Trump does what he says he's going to do, and he is deporting these foreign terrorists from American soil to secure our homeland, and he's within his rights to do that. Jennifer.
Very quickly on Tesla, there's a website that's trying to dox Tesla owners across the country and saying they're only going to take down personal information when people show that they've sold their cars. What's the administration going to do about that?
I haven't seen that website, but we certainly think it's despicable, the violence that has taken place against Tesla, the company.
Sounds like organized crime to me.
Just Americans who have chosen to drive an electric vehicle. Many of them are Democrats, by the way. Democrats were big supporters of Tesla and of electric vehicles until Elon Musk decided to vote for Donald Trump. So we would like Democrats to also come out and condemn this heinous violence that we have seen. And I believe the Attorney General has said she's investigating these incidents as acts of domestic terrorism. Jennifer.
On Ukraine, can you say, is the White House going to pause foreign military aid or intelligence sharing with Ukraine, as Russia says it's pushing for, and then have a follow-up on the Federal Trade Commission?
Sure. When it comes to Ukraine, I do have a statement for you from the National Security Advisor and also the Secretary of State. First, I'd like to reiterate what the President said earlier following his call with President Zelensky this morning. He said he just completed a very good telephone call with President Zelensky. It lasted approximately 1 hour. Much of the discussion was based on the call made yesterday with President Putin in order to align both Russia and Ukraine in terms of their requests and needs. We are very much on track, and I will ask Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Mike Waltz to give an accurate description of the points discussed. That statement will be put out shortly. Well, I have that statement for you right here. Bear with me as I read it. Today, President Trump and Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky had a fantastic phone conversation. President Zelensky thanked President Trump for a productive start for the work of the Ukrainian and American teams in Jeddah on March 11th. The meeting of the senior officials from both nations significantly helped in moving toward ending the war. President Zelensky thanked President Trump for the support of the United States, especially the Javelin missiles that President Trump was first to provide and his efforts towards peace. The leaders agreed Ukraine and America will continue working together to bring about a real end to the war. and that lasting peace under President Trump's leadership can be achieved. President Trump fully briefed President Zelensky on his conversation with Putin and the key issues discussed. They reviewed the situation in Kursk and agreed to share information closely between their defense staffs as the battlefield situation evolved. President Zelensky asked for additional air defense systems to protect his civilians, particularly Patriot missile systems, and President Trump agreed to work with him to find what was available, particularly in Europe. The two leaders also agreed on a partial ceasefire against energy. Technical teams will meet in Saudi Arabia in the coming days to discuss broadening the ceasefire to the Black Sea on the way to a full ceasefire. They agreed this could be the first step toward the full end of the war and ensuring security. President Zelensky was grateful for the president's leadership in this effort and reiterated his willingness to adopt a full ceasefire. President Trump also discussed Ukraine's electrical supply and nuclear power plants. He said that the United States could be very helpful in running those plants with its electricity and utility expertise. American ownership of those plants would be the best protection for that infrastructure and support for Ukrainian energy infrastructure. President Zelensky also thanked President Trump for continuing to push humanitarian concerns, including the exchange of prisoners of war. He noted they had just had a successful exchange and thanked the president for his leadership on that. President Trump also asked President Zelensky about the children who had gone missing from Ukraine during the war, including the ones that had been abducted, and President Trump promised to work closely with both parties to help make sure those children were returned home. They agreed all parties must continue the effort to make a ceasefire work. The presidents noted the positive work of their advisors and representatives, especially Secretary Rubio, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, Special Envoy Kellogg, and others. The presidents instructed their teams to move ahead with the technical issues related to implementing and broadening the partial ceasefire. The presidents instructed their advisors and representatives to carry out this work as quickly as possible. The presidents emphasized that in further meetings, the teams can agree on all necessary aspects of advancing toward lasting peace and security. That is a lengthy statement that was just given to me, so thanks for bearing with me. Our office will, of course, provide this after. And as you know, as I just pointed out in the statement, the president's team of negotiators and national security experts will be heading to Saudi again later this week to continue working on and ironing out the details. But I would just like to emphasize we have never been this close to peace, and it's only because of President Trump that we are here. I think a couple of years ago, as you all reported on the war, it was incomprehensible to have a partial ceasefire in this conflict. And today that is true because of the leadership of this president.
So they agreed to closely share information between their defense staffs. Does that mean all intelligence sharing will continue? So the White House is rejecting Russia's request to pause?
Intelligence sharing in terms of defense for Ukraine will continue to be shared. Mary.
Thanks, Caroline. I have two questions. One on the United States Institute of Peace and then on the Supreme Court, if that's okay.
Sure.
So on the United States Institute of Peace, this is a little bit wild. I understand the old president refused to leave after he was removed from his position. He barricaded himself in his offices, had to be escorted out by police, left the building without Wi-Fi, telephones, elevators, and more, and is now telling media that Doge broke in and illegally removed him. So can you comment on this sequence of events and specify, did Doge illegally enter?
I'm really glad you brought this up, Mary. We were made aware of this story by individuals at Doge, at Elon Musk's team, and also at the State Department who were unable to access this building. And it became very clear that there was a concerted effort amongst the rogue bureaucrats at the United States Institute of Peace to actually physically barricade themselves essentially inside of the building to prevent political appointees of this administration who work at the direction of the President of the United States to get into the building. There was a piece in the Daily Caller, thank you for sharing the truth on this, about what happened. Staff contacted the MPD in an attempt to prevent Doge personnel from entering. They barricaded the doors. They also disabled telephone lines, internet connections, and other IT infrastructure within the building. They distributed flyers internally, encouraging each other to basically prevent these individuals from accessing the building. I use this to say this is what Doge and this administration is facing. It's a resistance from bureaucrats who don't want to see change in this city. President Trump was elected on an overwhelming mandate to seek change and implement change, and this is unacceptable behavior.
Thank you. And just really quick From the Supreme Court. I know it's been almost 3 years now since the leak of the draft Dobbs opinion to Politico, actually. A leak which sparked protesting outside the homes of the justices and even brought on one attempted assassination attempt. I know Justice Alito said that it made the justices targets for assassination, but yet the Supreme Court has not tracked down any leaker. Does the White House have interest in finding out who that leaker was, and can you comment on that at all?
I know generally speaking the president has an interest in finding leakers and he believes it's unacceptable, and it's the position of this administration. You've seen the Secretary of Homeland Security has taken tough action at her agency. Leaking is unacceptable to this president and to the leaders across the board in this cabinet, especially when it puts people in harm's way. Sure.
Thank you, Caroline. A mom whose daughter was forced to change in a locker room with a biological male at school files a complaint with the DOJ. How will the Trump DOJ deal with violations of President Trump's orders protecting women and girls like this?
I would defer you to the Department of Justice on that specific case, but the president has made it incredibly clear that it is the policy of this administration that there are only two genders, male and female, only two sexes rather, male and female, and that we are not going to tolerate such behavior by men pretending to be women. The president will continue to strongly stand for the rights of women and girls, not just in sports and on athletic fields, but also in private spaces like locker rooms and bathrooms. Sure. Go ahead.
Thank you. On the FTC, two quick questions. Can you explain the president's thinking in his decision to fire the two Democratic commissioners, especially given that Mark Meadow is on track to be confirmed next week and there would be a Republican majority? My biggest question is why now?
Sure. Because the time was right to let these people go, and the president absolutely has the authority to do it. And they were given ample notice in a letter that I believe your outlet reported on. So it pretty much explains exactly why this administration chose to let those individuals go.
Is the ultimate goal to get this to the Supreme Court to try to overturn the 1935 precedent?
The goal was to let these individuals go. If we have to fight it all the way to the Supreme Court, we certainly will. Rachel.
Back to those deportation flights to El Salvador, can the administration provide any more details on how authorities determined that each of those men were in fact members of a gang? And if the White House can publish images, photos, videos of those men, why can't the administration just release basic information like their identities and names?
We are not going to reveal operational details about a counterterrorism operation, but what I can assure you, as I said on Monday, we have the highest degree of confidence in our ICE agents and our Customs and Border Patrol agents who have committed their lives to targeting illegal criminals in our country, particularly foreign terrorists, and they had great evidence and indication. They have the highest degree of professionalism, and they were 100% confident in the individuals that were sent home on these flights and in the president's executive authority to do that.
Follow up, I know in the last briefing you cited privacy concerns as a reason why the administration may not be able to reveal the identities. What exactly are the privacy rights of immigrants who were deported that the administration says were dangerous enough to be sent to El Salvador and sit in a prison?
Again, as I just said, we're not going to reveal the operational details of a counterterrorism operation for quite obvious reasons. We're trying to combat terrorism here in the United States of America. Jeff.
I could ask something else about the phone call yesterday. There was a couple different readouts from the Kremlin and the U.S. on a couple different points. One was energy and infrastructure. The U.S. statement said energy and infrastructure. The Kremlin said energy infrastructure. What is your understanding of what the actual substance of that disagreement was? Then I have one other question on that.
I would defer you to the readout that was provided by the White House. That's our understanding, and that's the truth.
And if I could ask a question about the judge as well. How does a president define a bad judge? Is it just someone who disagrees with him? And is that a dangerous precedent in this case, because this is a temporary ruling from Judge Boasberg that he could ultimately
This guy sounds like a jackass.
in your favor? Is he setting up a standard here for calling for the impeachment of a judge who may ultimately rule on your side?
No, it has nothing to do with disagreeing with the president on policy. It's with disagreeing with the Constitution and the law. And it's trying to usurp the authority of the executive branch of this country. It's having baseless reasoning for these injunctions. And it's a clear effort by these judges to slow roll this president's agenda. And if you just look at the injunctions that this president has faced, deporting foreign terrorists from our homeland, hiring and firing of executive branch employees when the president is the executive of the executive branch. You also see an injunction by a partisan activist judge when it comes to the Secretary of Defense trying to determine the readiness of our troops and the qualifications of our troops in our armed forces. Does a single district court judge really have more authority over the Commander-in-Chief and the Secretary of Defense to determine who should serve in our United States Armed Forces? Absolutely not. Anyone who has taken a basic civics lesson can understand that, and it's ridiculous.
They don't really have
lawfare
that in
we are
school anymore.
witnessing. And it's
I'm sorry, the president said he respects the Chief Justice here. Does he respect him specifically on this case and this opinion, or respects him overall? And has he spoken to any other Supreme Court justices?
The president respects Chief Justice Roberts overall. He just expressed that to me in the Oval Office, but it's also quite clear that the Supreme Court needs to rein in these judges who are acting as partisan activists, and they are undermining the judicial branch, and it's a dereliction of duty on their behalf. Deanna, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Caroline. On the call with Zelensky, did they discuss the minerals deal at all? Is that back on the table, and what do the Ukrainians have to do to get that back on the table? And then one on the Russia call as well.
Again, I just provided a very lengthy readout of the call that was provided by the Secretary of State and the National Security Advisor. And now we have moved beyond the economic minerals deal. We are at a place of peace. We're at a partial ceasefire, and we're moving towards a full ceasefire and a long-standing peace in this conflict. And that's great news for the American public.
Kremlin readout mentioned that Trump and Putin spoke about potential U.S.-Russia hockey games. And the Kremlin readout also said that Russia wanted the U.S. to stop U.S. intelligence and U.S. funding to Ukraine. The president has said that that conversation did not happen. Just wondering if you can get us any more clarity on that. And also, again, if it's energy infrastructure or if it's energy and infrastructure, because I think there is a big difference between that.
Again, as for the readouts of the call, I would defer you to ours. And when it comes to the topic of hockey, it did come up. However, we're more interested in securing a peace deal than scheduling hockey games right now. Sean.
Hey, about the deportation flight. So was it the president himself who directed the planes to stay in the air after the judge ordered them to turn back?
The president invoked the Aliens Enemies Act with a proclamation, which then directed the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of State to move forward with the plan of action. And as I said yesterday, all of the planes that were subject to the judge's written order took off before the order
If you're currently watching on X, I am also live
Kate, go ahead.
on YouTube.
Still considering pressuring Russia with sanctions or tariffs to try to get a full ceasefire? And is there any kind of deadline or timeline that the White House has in mind for when that pressure might ramp up?
Again, the president had a nearly 2-hour-long call with President Putin yesterday. We provided a readout of that call, and we have his negotiating team
there,
heading to the
and
Middle East
we
this
are
week to
also live
continue
on
these discussions
Rumble.
in regards to sanctions and any other details. I'm not going to give a readout of those from this podium.
And on TikTok, is Oracle the leading contender for a deal? And would the U.S. back a deal that keeps TikTok's algorithm and the underlying technology still in Chinese hands?
As President Trump does so well, we don't get ahead of ourselves when we are in the midst of the art of the deal. So when the president and this team are ready to announce a deal on TikTok, which is a high priority for the president, we will make that known. I've seen that reporting, but I'm not going to comment on it just yet. Sure, go ahead.
Thank you, Press Secretary Leavitt. Some prominent Trump supporters have been making the case that Derek Chauvin deserves a pardon. They argue that he did not receive a fair trial. Joe Biden and other Democrats actually implied that he was guilty while the trial was going on. BLM rioters had these jurors under immense threat and pressure. Mainstream media, frankly, many news outlets here today are complicit here. They chose to ignore the autopsy report. They chose to ignore the full body camera footage. They decided to slander Derek Chauvin as a racist cop instead. Does the administration believe Derek Chauvin received a fair trial, and will they consider a pardon moving forward?
The president has been asked and answered this question. He said it's not something he's considering at this time. Philip.
Thank you. 2 questions. First, just a follow-up on the readouts from those calls. When it comes to the discrepancies between the U.S. and Russian readout of that call between President Trump and Putin, is it the president's assessment that something is getting lost in translation, or does he believe that the Russians are trying to play games here?
Nope. The president believes in his team that put the readout out, and he also put his own out on Truth Social. We've been incredibly transparent about all of the president's calls with foreign leaders, and again, I would defer you to the readout.
And then following up
Thank you, Caroline. White House said yesterday that gas prices across the U.S. have fallen for the fourth straight week. 34 states now seeing gas under $3 a gallon. This limited ceasefire with Ukraine regarding oil refineries, energy, will that affect gas prices here in the U.S.?
Well, it's certainly the president's hope that gas prices will continue to fall, and he's working every single day to ensure that we do. As you just mentioned, there's been very encouraging data. Inflation is cooling, and gas prices are falling.
So
The president
while this continues,
has
we're going to
established
see
a
if we
National
can take
Energy
and
Dominance
actually
Council, and it's ultimately the
pull
president's
up
goal. And this administration is working hard on it every single day to increase our energy production right here in the United States of America, to have a Trump energy boom like we saw in our first term, which will not only lead to lower fuel prices here at home, but also lessen the rate of inflation that was created by the previous administration.
One more on Tesla, Caroline. Tim Walz, Governor Walz, saying last night he frequently checks Tesla stock boost during the day. How should Americans view politicians who take pride in the downfall of an American car company?
I think that's quite sad, but I think Governor Walz unfortunately is living a sad existence after his devastating defeat on November 5th. Reagan, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. Across the country, Tesla cars are being lit on fire, dealerships are being shot up, Molotov cocktails are being used. There was a website posted yesterday that shared the addresses of private Tesla owners and reportedly had Kash Patel's information on it. AG Bondi has called this acts of domestic terrorism. Does the White House have any indication that this is some sort of coordinated movement or that it's being funded by some outside group? And do you know if the investigation by the DOJ is being investigated as incidents of organized terror?
I believe the Attorney General has made her comments clear on that. She is investigating these events as acts of domestic terrorism, and we fully condemn them. And as I said earlier to Jackie's question,
If we can take
we
and
think
pull
it's
this up
despicable
here.
what is happening to not just this American company, but also their innocent employees. And again, innocent Americans who drive these vehicles. And we condemn it wholeheartedly. Sure.
More than 24,000 workers in 18 agencies are in the process of being reinstated. What is your message to these workers, and can you assure them they won't be fired again as the administration directs agencies to do more layoffs?
Well,
There we
the
go.
administration
We got both of
is
them live.
complying with the court's order. Again, as I have spoken about repeatedly, we think it's despicable that we have judges acting as judicial activists, partisan activists.
Bear with
trying
me,
to
I don't
dictate
have a,
who the president of the United States, the executive
what you
of the
call it, like a
executive branch,
team or
can
anything
hire
here,
and
so
fire.
just
We have
working
never
on
seen
it here by
anything like this.
ourselves.
We are fighting this in court, and we will continue to fight it all the way to the Supreme Court if we have to. And as for federal employees, it's been the very common sense position of this president and the administration that bureaucrats here in Washington, D.C. need to show up to the office just like the rest of America. Middle-class Americans, from doctors to business owners to teachers to law enforcement officers, have to show up to their offices every single day. And the president has made it a clear priority that people in this city have to do the same. And we are also continue to be committed to reducing the scale of our workforce and to reducing the size of our federal bureaucracy here in Washington, D.C. to save taxpayers' money. Annie, go ahead.
Thanks so much. In the statement that you read, you referenced the president's interest in helping return Ukrainian children to their parents and to their families. There's an organization that provides intel and information about those children that their aid has been cut. It's a Yale University program that used foreign aid, and I'm curious if, as part of this, you're thinking with Ukraine, aid might be unfrozen.
I have no updates about that or that specific program at this time. Karen.
Thanks, Caroline. Just to follow up on your answer to the question on the minerals deal, you said that the White House has moved beyond the minerals deal. What does that mean? Is that no longer on the table?
Nope. It means the minerals deal was that first set of framework that you all saw in that very public meeting with President Zelensky and President Trump in the Oval Office. We are now focused on a long-term peace agreement. As you know, on that deal or that meeting between President Zelensky and President Trump, the Ukrainian president at the time wasn't talking about a greater peace deal. We are now at that place where we are talking about that. So we've moved beyond just the economic minerals deal framework, and we're looking at a lasting ceasefire. Right now we're at a partial ceasefire, but again, the president is sending his highly skilled, intelligent, and experienced team to Saudi Arabia later this week to continue fighting for peace in this conflict. And I would just reiterate one more time, we have never been closer to peace than we are today. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you later.
All right. Well, that is the end of the press conference from the White House. Unfortunately, there was nothing mentioned about the active situation going on at the CIA. So we're gonna take and we're gonna drop that one down, and we're gonna blow this one back up, and see what it is that we can derive. As of right now, it is still an active scene. There's not really anything going on. I haven't seen any news updates or anything coming out of this that would be indicative of what is happening. So we'll continue to monitor here. If something does happen, then we will certainly take in bringing you guys up to speed, let you know. But as of right now, this is what we got. So, just to let you know, we are a contributing member of BowlingPoint.live. You can find them weekly throughout the night at 9 o'clock on Rumble at BowlingPoint.live. They also have a website at BowlingPoint.live as well, and our website, SavagePatriotTV.com. We also take and post videos, and also all of our previous podcasts as well. And we appreciate you coming by and showing your support. If you're not currently following us on whatever platform you're currently watching us on, please make sure that you go down and hit that follow button. We are streaming currently on X, Kick, Rumble, and YouTube. Now that we're back to this, goes back to this. All right. So while we'll continue to wait, you have the volume that is there for whenever this here does come active. We're going to take and we're going to look at some other headlines while we continue to look at this. So let's pop over to Boiling Point Live right now. So part of the suspicion as to what's happening here at the CIA headquarters with this incident is that it's coming on the cusp of the JFK files being released, and in those files there are a lot of things that do not portray the CIA in a very positive light. As a matter of fact, a lot of the documents that were recovered in this release indicate that the CIA was actively surveilling, fully aware of what was going on with Lee Harvey Oswald, and as far as his involvement with Russia and Cuba. So a lot of information has been released. Now, obviously, it's been 60 years. The chances on someone who still works at the CIA at this point...
Astronauts were only supposed to be up there for 8 days. But because of the Biden administration's lack of urgency, they ended up spending 9 months in space. Joe Biden's lack of courage to act boldly and decisively was a big reason why Butch and Sonny did not make it back until yesterday. But President Trump doesn't waste time. Immediately
this
after
at?
taking office, President Trump directed Elon Musk and SpaceX to rescue these brave astronauts alongside NASA. The president also called the acting administrator of NASA and told her to bring the astronauts home as soon as possible. As acting administrator Janet Petro said herself yesterday, per President Trump's direction, NASA and SpaceX worked diligently to pull the schedule a month earlier. The president looks forward to welcoming Butch and Sonny to the Oval Office when they are recovered. This historic mission.
Okay, so not sure where that is stemming from right now at this point. I don't have anything else open, I don't believe. Over here. Oh, there it is. Ah, I found it. All right. So, like I was saying before, this does come on the cusp of the JFK files being released yesterday, and it not showing a very good limelight for the CIA. Over on Bowling Point Lives, released 12 minutes ago, says new revelations from the recently released JFK files. You can find this on bowlingpoint.live. I will actually take and put a link in the chat here on our platforms, so you can take it, you can look for yourself and read along if you so wish. All right, so it says that on March 18, 2025, the Trump administration released a significant tranche of previously classified documents related to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, fulfilling a long-standing promise to shed light on America's most enduring mysteries. This release, comprising over 63,000 pages across approximately 2,220 files, marks the final batch of records held by the National Archives under the President John F. Kennedy Assassination Records Collection Act of 1992. While historians and researchers caution that no single smoking gun overturns the official narrative of Lee Harvey Oswald as a lone gunman, the newly unredacted files offer fresh details that deepen our understanding of the events surrounding the November 22, 1963 assassination. Here's a comprehensive look at the key revelations emerging from the historic disclosure. One of the most striking insights from the files centers on CIA's surveillance of Lee Harvey Oswald in the months leading up to the assassination. Previously redacted documents now confirm that the agency intercepted a phone call of Oswald made to a KGB agent at the Soviet embassy in Mexico City on September 28, 1963, less than 2 months before Kennedy's death. This call, alongside evidence of Oswald's meetings with both Soviet and Cuban officials during his trip, bolsters theories of a possible Castro-linked motive, potentially tied to the Kennedy's assassination attempts to oust the Cuban leader. A declassified CIA memo also reveals that an officer, alarmed by Oswald's activities, raised concerns to superiors only to have them dismissed, a detail hinting at either bureaucratic incompetence or intentional suppression. Additionally, the files expose the role of James Angleton, the CIA's counterintelligence chief, as the primary conduit of information to the Warren Commission. His selective sharing of intelligence has long fueled speculation about what the agency knew and chose not to disclose about Oswald's movements and intentions. The declassified records provide tantalizing new evidence of organized crime's potential involvement in the assassination plot. Wiretap transcripts from the early 1960s, now fully unredacted, captured mob bosses discussing the need to take care of Kennedy. One explosive document linked Chicago mafia figures to the training of Cuban exiles, suggesting a coalition of mobsters, anti-Castro Cubans, and possibly a rogue CIA element. The motive? Revenge for Kennedy's perceived betrayal during the Bay of Pigs invasion, which cost mafia figures lucrative casino operations in Havana after Fidel Castro's rise to power. Another file ties Jack Ruby, the man who killed Oswald 2 days after the assassination, to the shadow underworld. Previously unreleased testimony from Julia Ann Mercer, a witness near the grassy knoll, identifies Ruby as delivering guns to an unidentified man on the day of the assassination. Mercer's claims that the FBI altered her statement adds a layer of intrigue, suggesting possible efforts to obscure Ruby's role. Separate records confirm Ruby's earlier activities as a numbers runner for Al Capone, an informant for then Representative Richard Nixon in the late 1940s, and a gun runner to Cuba for Castro, painting a picture of a man deeply enmeshed in criminal and intelligent networks. Perhaps the most debated revelation is evidence supporting the theory of a second shooter, a notion the Warren Commission dismissed in 1964. Newly released ballistic reports and witness testimonies challenged the official timeline that also fired 3 shots in 8.6 seconds from the Texas School Book Depository. One document suggests a shot may have originated from the grassy knoll, an elevated area ahead of Kennedy's motorcade, aligning with long-standing eyewitness accounts. While not conclusive, this evidence revives questions about whether Oswald acted alone, with some researchers pointing to the House Select Committee of Assassinations 1979 finding of a high probability of conspiracy. The files shed light on Ruby's activities in the days before and after the assassination. A document places Ruby in a meeting with oil magnate H.L. Hunt and E.H. Branding at the Dow Tex building across from the Dealey Plaza, the day before Kennedy's death. This meeting, previously undocumented, raises questions about Ruby's motivation and potential ties to powerful figures opposed to Kennedy's policy, combined with a memo from FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover expressing frustration that Oswald died without confessing, leaving the Bureau unable to convince the public of his guilt. Ruby's role as Oswald's silencer takes on heightened significance. A bombshell memo details CIA officer George Johnnies funneling $25,000 to an anti-Castro group with ties to Oswald in 1963. This financial trail, previously obscured by redactions, suggests the agency may have had closer contact with Oswald or his associates than previously admitted. While it doesn't prove CIA orchestrated a hit, it underscores the murky interplay between U.S. intelligence, Cuban exiles, and Oswald's pro-Castro activism, further complicating the lone gunman narrative. The files reveal chilling instances of foreknowledge that went unheeded. A Secret Service memo recounts Robert C. Rawls overhearing a man in New Orleans bar a week before the assassination, betting $100 that Kennedy would be dead within 3 weeks. Rawls dismissed it as drunk talk at the time, but reported it after the shooting. Similarly, a trip to Cambridge News in England received 25 minutes before the assassination warned of big news in the U.S., hinting at possible insider knowledge. The incident, combined with the CIA's failure to act on Oswald's Mexico City activities, point to a breakdown in communication between agencies that may have allowed the tragedy to unfold. Despite these revelations, experts remain skeptical that the files will definitively upend the Warren Commission conclusion. The documents offer puzzle pieces rather than a complete picture. A historian, Frederick Longville, noted, providing context on intelligence gathering, Oswald's surveillance, and Ruby's connections without proving a grand conspiracy. The CIA has reiterated that it never engaged Oswald, and much of the new material focused on procedural details rather than the explosive breakthroughs. Still, the unredacted files expose gaps and inconsistencies that keep conspiracy theories alive. The March 2025 release of JFK files, spurred by President Trump's Executive Order 14176, delivers on decades-long quest for transparency. With over 6 million pages now public, the collection paints a richer portrait of the assassination's backdrop, CIA surveillance failures, mafia vendettas, and tantalizing hits for additional players. For historians, the files offer valuable insights into Cold War eras, intelligence, and organized crime. For the public, they sustain a fascination with unanswered questions. Was Oswald a pasty? Did Ruby act alone? Was there a second shooter? As scholars continue to sift through the documents, the assassination of John F. Kennedy remains a paradox, a case closed by official decree, yet perpetually open in the American imagination. These latest revelations may not rewrite history, but they but they ensured that the debate over what happened in Dallas will endure for generations to come. Again, you can find that in other news articles on boilingpoint.live. Please make sure that you go by there and have a chat with our content creators. You can also find all of us that are contributing members to Boiling Pot Live as we continue to watch a live feed coming out of Langley here at the CIA headquarters in Virginia. As of right now, we have not received any type of official information from law enforcement on this scene. We are unaware of anything that has been posted by them, but we are continuing to monitor a Fox 5 Washington D.C. Live feed currently broadcasted right here. Right. Right, I will be back in a few. We will continue to monitor this, so I will put it up on the big screen here for you. All right, and we are back. Continuing to watch what's happening outside the CIA headquarters here. Still got a live feed coming out from Fox 5 from Washington, D.C. This is right outside the gate from the CIA headquarters. So if you look, you see the officers that are here on screen right now. Right behind them is the immediate entrance into the CIA. They did have it zoomed in here earlier. I was hoping they might go back, but you can see up at the guardhouse in this direction here, there is a suspect that is just on the other side of that, that was sitting on a bench. We haven't received a whole lot of information coming out of this from a lot of different news outlets. Law enforcement has been very tight-lipped about it. Newsmax is saying that a man approached the main gate and began making threats, according to other news outlets. Said that the threats at the gate prompted an immediate law enforcement response. Fairfax County, Arlington County, law enforcement, Virginia State Police, CIA police are also on scene as well. And they are calling it a barricade incident at this point. But it's unclear exactly what would stipulate that to be a barricaded issue. There are approximately 3 different SWAT vehicles that are like pulled in and facing the suspect, with 3 separate SWAT teams as well. There's also a bomb squad that's on scene. So again, we're just not really sure what's going on, but we are continuing to monitor here live. Like I said, not any other news network seems to have any information either. Doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of information coming out, but we are continuing to monitor here. See if we can scan what's going on here on the world of X, and see what they say. We'll do CIA. Actually look at the CIA and see if they've pushed anything out. They have not. Nothing coming out of the CIA. Hashtag CIA. See what that pops up. All right, so here's one report right here. It says a gunman opened fire just outside CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia, prompting a massive police response. The attack followed President Trump's release of JFK assassination files. So this is something that we had possibly thought might be related to this situation, because it does come on the cusp of yesterday's file dump of JFK files. Still trying to take in, figure that out, but we'll continue to scroll through here. And if you haven't went through and read some of the documents, there's not really, like a smoking gun or anything of that nature that come out of the documents per se. But a lot of what was previously redacted or unreleased from the CIA has now been released in this file dump that came out yesterday, in accordance with President Trump's executive order to release all the JFK files. So we are currently, continuing to watch. Me myself, I have went through and reviewed probably a few hundred the documents that were released. There's like over 2,200 individual files, and within them, is another stack of pages. And some of them are copies and copies of copies of copies of copies, and it's just gotten so deteriorated from the amount of copies. To find the original documents at this point, I think, is probably unlikely, unless they're buried in a bunker somewhere. So that's kind of where we're at with that. Not really sure what else that we could tell you about. Currently looking here. There was a helicopter on scene earlier. I believe it was Fox 5's helicopter. Not really sure who was flying this thing. I was kind of remiss in the fact that, you know, it was a very low, altitude. You know, we just had very limited visibility. There's a lot of trees around where the situation is currently taking place. I would also imagine that being the CIA headquarters, they probably have a restricted airspace as well. So there's probably a lot of limitations in that. In regards to, you know, how they can fly, how high, and what kind of distance they need to take and keep away. But we were able to take and see a person sitting on a bench earlier. It doesn't appear at this time that, you know, anything else has transpired. However, they've got the news crews pushed out so far. It's very difficult to try and figure that out. But we are continuing to watch and continuing to see if we can find any more information as to what it is that is going on here. Okay. What's this here?
From the school, Joseph Housey and Sante Harris, our educators on the ground. Absolutely support your teachers, y'all.
All right, looks like Fox 5 has just changed streams. So we're gonna try and get that pulled up for you here.
We have our county councilwoman for this district, Walla Blade. We have our school board chair, Brandon Jackson. Our school board member for this.
All right, so we're gonna take and eat that one up, and then we're gonna take and pull this one here out. Again, this is coming from Fox 5 out of Washington, D.C. Got a couple different camera views there. Looks like they...
Going.
Yeah, we got a chance to see that command center now positioned right behind you, David. As is always the case, typically with the barricade, it's all about making contact with the individual. Any word as to whether or not officials have been able to do that thus far?
Yeah, no word on that either, Guy. Great question, and certainly things that we hope to learn once we hopefully get some insights from the CIA. I will just say, seeing the drones and the helicopter up in the sky, just noteworthy that they're trying to sort of, whatever they're looking for, whatever they're seeing, they're trying to get it from all angles on the ground and obviously from above. So hard to say exactly what is going on and what this response is, but we know what it entails, which is this massive response, as well as eyes on it from the ground and from the sky.
Yeah, we'll end with this, David, and that is you also made mention of a potential robot being in that area as well. Typically, and from your experience, when that happens, perhaps there's concern about a potential bomb. Any word to that?
Yeah, Guy, nothing on that either. And we should also note sometimes in SWAT situations, we will see a robot that may respond as well. Guy, Nelson, our photographer here, just spotted something. We're giving you a live picture right now. We can see both a drone as well as this chopper that are up in the sky. So Nelson is showing you right now the chopper that is clearly flying over. Can't say for sure whether it is part of this response. It does appear to be flying away. But if we try, we can look in between these two stoplights. You can see there is that one of those drones up in the sky. So we're going to try and pan up a little bit and zoom in between these stoplights and hopefully give you a shot of this drone that is up in the sky right now. You can definitely tell that it's up and this is active and this is definitely ongoing.
David, really quickly, it's somewhat hard for us to see, but with regard to the positioning of that drone, is that closer to the entrance of the CIA headquarters?
Yeah, the depth is a little bit tough to tell from my perspective as well right now, Guy, but if I were to sort of just guess, the drone is currently flying directly above where you are seeing this massive presence on Dolly Madison. It's hard to say exactly for sure if it is any deeper sort of into the CIA complex than that, but I can definitely tell you it does sort of appear to be hovering right now, but just in the last like hour or so that we've been here, we've definitely seen it fly, obviously both vertically and across a little bit deeper into the campus. But for the time being right now, this drone, it's moving a little bit. They're bringing it, appearing to bring it down just a foot or two for the time being, but it's definitely just hovering over there right now as we stand here.
All right, a lot to unpack here and a lot to continue to unfold, and we'll continue to do so throughout the afternoon right here on the Live Zone. David Kaplan reporting yet again outside of the CIA headquarters in McLean. I should mention Fox 5 first on the scene. David, truly appreciate you. Should you learn something else, please reach out and we'll get you back on ASAP.
Will do, Guy.
All right. Switching gears to politics, obviously a lot happening in the world with...
So that's what they had to say. All right, looks like we're back to our live feed again. Still nothing coming out of this. We're going to keep on scouring the other news networks out here and see what we can do. Not sure. Yeah, still silence from just about everybody in an official capacity regarding this. Currently checking just all the different news outlets here. Only official statement coming out of the CIA is this, and we're quoting, "This is an ongoing incident that law enforcement is currently responding to outside CIA headquarters." The spokesperson said additional details will be made available as appropriate. So still nothing, coming from that. Do have a different live view that I can show you real quick here. This one's coming out of Fox Live. And being the fact that I've spent a number of years in law enforcement, I'm really perplexed in what it is that we're looking at here. We are currently, we know that this here is an armored vehicle. There's an armored vehicle over here as well. Each of these armored vehicles, there is another one on the other side here. You can't see it because of these two vehicles that are blocking it. But there is another one that's on the other side. And then what you got is right over top, so just on the other side of that Dodge Charger there is where the suspect is. But it didn't seem like, that there's really anything going on that would stimulate some sort of a, I don't know, like a different response from the officers. We got an officer that's sitting, on the back of this here Tahoe. He appears to be like looking on his phone. This guy's standing here. He's got his leg crossed. I mean, their comfort level is very, very interesting to be looking at. I got another guy that's sitting over in another Tahoe. He's got the door open, and you got the guys that are over here by this F-250. Just casually talking. Like there doesn't seem to be a sense of urgency to figure out whatever it is going on with this incident. So I'm not sure, if they have a negotiator currently, trying to figure out what's going on, what seems to be the situation. Again, this is just, raw footage that's coming directly from the scene. And we're hoping that, this situation will resolve itself safely. Hopefully no one does get hurt. So we're continuing to monitor as we proceed here. Hopefully no one does get hurt. Want that. Excuse me. Ooh. So hard to get the music to just not be so loud. What we'll have to do. Alright, we're continuing to scour what's happening. Also have the FBI SWAT is on scene as well. So there's a lot of different agencies that are on scene here. just would be nice if there was some sort of an update from officials. Certainly something that we could would explain the very calm and different type of demeanor that these officers are having that are just right outside of the line of sight here. So certainly seems just a bit strange to be to have such a calm demeanor in a situation like this. So, but we are continuing to monitor. So there will be hopefully more updates as this continues. Again, we're hoping for a peaceful resolution, and it is believed that quite possibly this could have something to do with the release of the JFK files. Since those JFK files did not portray such a positive light for the CIA, could very well be something that relates to this. Just the timing regarding it, it certainly does seem a bit strange at this point. So. But if you are just now tuning in, sorry. If you are just now tuning in, make sure that you go and you check out bowlingpoint.live. Bowlingpoint.live, I am a contributing content creator on there. We have lots of news articles as well. You can also check out savagepatriottv.com. We have some news articles. We just got the website launched this week. So we are still in the setup phase there with some things, but so far things are going pretty well. And pretty happy with that at the moment. We are also live on Rumble. You can find us at The Savage Patriot on Rumble as well. If you are not following me, please do me a favor and hit that follow button. We are trying to grow. We are brand new into the podcast world. We're not new to streaming per se, but we are new to the podcast world, and certainly trying to get things moving around here so that we can try and bring you some good content, some good commentary as well. Alright, looks like we got some movement going on now here on the screen. It's possible that maybe something has happened, so we can try and get some sort of resolution. So you can also take and follow us on X at Savage Patriot TV. We are currently live on X right now. I believe that's where just about all of our viewership is currently from. So we do appreciate you there. Now, if you're not currently following the page, please make sure that you do hover over top of our name and hit that follow button. We certainly appreciate it as we continue to try and build upon our channel here and produce you some good content as well. Well, I think it looks like they might have him in custody. Yep, they have him in custody right now. All right. So that is great. That is good to hear right there. It looks like he doesn't appear to have any injuries. They're patting him down as we're talking right this second here. So it does look as if this situation is coming to an end. We are certainly going to be waiting for law enforcement to go ahead and give us an update. Hopefully here very shortly. I do have to end our show here by 3:30 Eastern Standard Time. But we are continuing to monitor. I think we're going to see some of these vehicles now start to clear out now that this situation has been resolved. So great job to law enforcement on, safely ending this current situation here at the CIA headquarters located in Langley, Virginia. As we're continuing to monitor, we will try and give you as much information as possible. And there you are. There is the suspect right there. I don't know. Hopefully you can see him down there in the distance. He's wearing some khaki pants and looks like a possible flannel shirt. So just continuing to watch and monitor here. I think it'll probably be a few minutes before we get any official to come out and provide us with any kind of an update. Given the fact that there's no emergency medicine personnel, no EMTs, paramedics, or anybody like that currently up there, it's very possible that he is uninjured at this time. But it does appear that we're going to be seeing the situation clear up here shortly. Now that was Fox News. Let's go see if we can go back.
It is
Here we are.
somebody in custody wearing handcuffs. They have long black hair, long blonde hair in handcuffs. It is not entirely sure if this is the person that is the subject of the standoff, but we're bringing this to you live right here on the DMV zone as it is happening.
It is the person. Okay. Earlier they had a helicopter above. You could clearly see that it was a white male. He had blonde hair, kind of like a darker brown, maybe possibly flannel shirt, and khaki pants. I think he was also wearing a hat. So that's kind of an assurance to me that yes, this is the person. That the fact they're in handcuffs. So I mean, let's be obvious. I understand what the news media is trying to do there. They're not trying to take in. Make any assumptions or anything like that. But I've done law enforcement now for over 2 decades. You don't get in handcuffs, just because you're not the guy. So.
Okay, great. Yeah, while you were just talking there for a second, I tried to walk around just to get a little bit more of a vantage point. I did see one of those SWAT vehicles drive away. You may have seen that in the shot as well, but certainly, Marina, you have a better vantage point than I do just because of the zoom in right now. So certainly, we will continue monitoring this. We will continue being on here on the scene. If we get any additional insights from the CIA, we'll be sure to bring you the very latest starting at 4 o'clock right here on Fox 5.
Okay. That's kind of where they're at right now. Where they're waiting, you know, to see if they get any information coming out from the CIA.
Entrance kind of off the GW Parkway. This is the main entrance to the CIA. So for the time being, Dolly Madison does remain shut down at this time. But again, as we work to learn more, that may change sooner rather than later. So we'll keep you posted on developments as we get them.
All right, well, we're still watching. We're still here. We're still waiting to see what's happening. Police still have the roadway shut down. Protocol. They still got a crime scene up there to take and process. You know, depending on what kind of evidence and things of that nature that they might have around there. You know, if the suspect, you know, did bring any type of explosive devices, you know, obviously it was precautionary. You know, that they took and they responded with that equipment. You know, there's possibility that they may need to check the area and see if that is something that is going on just before they completely clear the scene. But as of right now, the suspect has been taken into custody by law enforcement. We're just hoping that we can get some sort of information provided to us from law enforcement officials as to what the status and the circumstances are regarding this incident. We may not get that immediately. It may take several hours for that to come. But as of right now, the situation has resolved. There is no longer a barricaded suspect at the CIA headquarters. But we are continuing to monitor the situation as, you know, as well as several other news networks. My name is John, and I am the host of the Savage Patriot Show. You can locate me here on X, Savage Patriot TV. You can also find me on Rumble at the Savage Patriot. You can find me on Kick at Savage Patriot, and you can find me on YouTube at Savage Patriot TV. So we are currently live streaming on there as well. We are also on a couple other different news sources. Let's see here if I can take and I can add this in here. There we go. We'll just take and throw that up at the top. That'll work. So all of our socials should stay and now scan up over there in the corner. There we go. So if you're not currently following, we would certainly appreciate you to continue to follow us. You know, we are taking and you know, trying to produce some good content for you folks. I do some podcast shows as well. Those are also live streamed. You can find those on Rumble. And they will also soon be on YouTube as well. We are here right now watching Fox 5 out of Washington, D.C. This is their live feed coming directly from the scene in front of the CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia. Yo, what's up, Wood Geek? How are you, good sir? If you're currently watching on Rumble, make sure you do me a favor and go down there and hit that thumbs up button as well. And, you know, if you would, share it out, share with your friends. Make sure you hit the follow button as well. So we get added in there. So we are currently streaming on a couple different platforms. We are on X, Kick, Rumble, and YouTube at this particular moment. All right, there we go. The suspect is in custody. So we have updated that as well. All right, well, Geek. Yeah, if you need any help, just let me know. Pretty good with the green screen thing. All right, I will continue to put this up here, and I will be right back. All right. So we see that the police are now taking the crime scene tape down. A lot of the vehicles have, cleared out. I did see just a few moments ago that they took the suspect and, moved him to another vehicle for transport. So, yeah, at this time we're going to go ahead and transition into our ending. And as soon as we learn some more information, we will get it posted out to you. Make sure you're following us on X at Savage Patriot TV. We're also on YouTube and Rumble, the Savage Patriot. Appreciate everybody's support, and you all have a great day.